All right, everybody, we're back. Brand new Cabral HouseCall, first one of the weekend. Always excited, seriously am, to be able to go through all of our community's questions. Typically, we'd be getting to about 5 or 6 questions per day. If the questions are a little bit more in depth, usually 5. If I'm able to get through 6, it's a great day. So the goal is to answer about a dozen of our community's questions each weekend. We answer them in the order they come in. If you want to leave a question to be read live on the show, please feel free to do so at stephencabral.com/askcabral, a service that I've loved to be able to provide for the past 8+ years. What I want to share with you is that it takes about 10 to 12 weeks to get your question read live on the show. However, you can ask your question and get same-day answers at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our support group, 28,000 people and climbing from all around the world. We've never advertised once for that group. It is just all organic. It's our global health community, people supporting other people. All right, let's dive into today's questions. Opened up the document right now. Let's see. Today is episode 3165. We are all lined up. Let's see what the community is asking now. So Dave says, do you recommend the Harmony pendant for EMF protection? I've seen other people in the natural health space recommend them, and I'm wondering your thoughts. Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm actually looking into this for myself to test it out. So a lot of people recommend things, and there's no harm to them, right? There really isn't. So people are recommending this pendant, and it may be great. It may be. I don't know. And I, though, went and looked at the study. So they actually ran a study with this, and so that's really great that they're doing the research. And some of it just didn't add up. So I'm going to contact the actual company. Now, when they ran the study, about 100 people or so, and which is decent size. It's not bad for a small study at all. Here's what they found, though. About 2/3, well, it was basically this. It's like 50% of the people reacted positively when they wore this pendant. About 30% of the people or so actually reacted negatively. They had an adverse response. And then, well, maybe let's call it like 40% had more of an adverse response, and 10% had neutral. So it's like, yeah, half the people got a response, or a little bit more than half, maybe like 60%. But the other 40 got no response or an adverse response in terms of their HRV, because that's how they measured it. So I felt that wasn't phenomenal, but again, positive, obviously, if you're part of the 50-60%. The other part was, I don't know how they're measuring it. They're calling it an HRV index. And they're saying that, because I did look into this, and they said it raised it by like 700%. So that to me didn't make any sense. Because if your HRV, let's say, was 100, then a 700% increase would be a 700. Nobody has a 700 HRV. And so I don't know what they're measuring that on. I know that they had they used a small electrical fan. I'm going on and on. But again, I'm trying to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And they had a small decrease in HRV. It was like 1% of people's HRV. And I don't know if they're measuring on that, like 700% in the delta of what was a positive versus 1%. So did it raise their HRV then like a +6%? That's possible, but I don't know how they're using this HRV index. Let's just say someone's HRV, let's put it more normal. Let's say their HRV is a 30. So that would raise their HRV to a 210. Something's not quite right there. It's not adding up. They didn't use a regular HRV monitor. So again, I'm open to it, and I absolutely will recommend it if I find that it works for me. And I'll just share the study results. So I am not recommending it yet because I've got some questions on it, and I don't exactly know a few of the things that they were looking at that I would like to know more on. All right. So Dave, that's my honest answer. All right. Morna is up next. I have been on thyroid medication for 25 years. I'm 58 and currently on NP thyroid. Can I heal my body to the point I would no longer need it? Or has my body shut down producing hormones due to the fact that I've supplemented for so long? I also have read you should not take melatonin too long because your body will stop producing it. You offer melatonin supplements, so is that false? Thanks for your time and advice. My fiance and I met later in life and focusing on health to live our best lives together. We live in Washington and are looking forward to when the Big 5 tests become available. Okay. Yeah. So unfortunately, Washington State and New York do not allow at-home lab testing. New York hasn't allowed it in 30 plus years. Washington just passed the law and it's actually not about lab testing. It's about well, they've got some really strange things about data. And so no one is sending really labs there right now because you literally don't know what to do. And they're allowing law firms to enforce the law rather than judges, which is what they did in California. And it's just so out of control. Literally, I could tell you stories, out of control. Okay, so let's answer the latter question first. If you supplement with melatonin, it does not stop your own production. Anybody who says that, it's categorically false. People produce melatonin based on light and dark if their system is working naturally. And so what happens is when literally done by the, I don't want to get too deep into it, but red light, blue light, etc. during the day. So we want to be exposed to blue light earlier in the day and then less so as the day goes on and the hues change from the rays of the sun. And so as that happens, cortisol begins to decrease as the day moves on, and then melatonin begins in its inverse to be increased. So you don't want to overdo melatonin, but also keep in mind when you look at the studies, it's like hydrochloric acid and enzymes, many other things. Melatonin gets produced less and less as we get older. Okay. And so I'll just let people decide, if you're not producing enough melatonin and you're not getting good sleep, is it better to keep getting poor sleep, or is it better to supplement with a little melatonin, which also acts as a very powerful antioxidant? It works as a potent antiviral and much more. So anyway, okay, let's go on. What was the other one? If you were taking NP thyroid, yes. So as long as your thyroid has not been removed or changed, you can absolutely wean off of that once you find the underlying root causes to why your thyroid's imbalanced. And I have a whole thyroid course in this at stevencabral.com/courses. I've got lots of free let's say you go to visit a relative and, well, actually you can't because you're part of Washington State. So yes, but we can obviously take you through the thyroid protocols as well, and not even the lab testing for Washington State. And hopefully that changes in the future. All right, Morna, thanks for writing in. Kim's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for your effort in teaching the world about health. And now we can take ownership in healthy livings. Exactly. That is what we want, Kim, is just basically for everybody to take control over their own health. And, next year, not this year, but next year, I've got a new book coming out, and I hope that helps people do it to an even greater degree. All right. My question, it says from Kim, is what do you think about the Lifewave X39? My doctor recommended it, that I try it for my health issues. I have worsening arthritis and other autoimmune issues. Thank you for your feedback. All right. So I've already given my take on the Lifewave X39. When I go to their website, again, because IHP's asking, so I do my research for all of our IHPs. I go to the science page. There's no science on the science page. There's no studies that point to it. And it doesn't matter if someone has patents. That doesn't mean that it's like scientifically verified. And they're making big claims. They're basically saying by wearing a patch, and by the way, they may be right. So there's no shade being thrown on them from me at all. They may be right. I just want to read the research on it. That's all. And so because I always go by replicable results. All right. So you're using a patch, and then the light from the sun is basically, it says it's working like acupressure. The last time I checked the website, that's what it said. Some people say it helps with stem cells. I just want to see the research on it. That's all. I haven't seen it. If someone shows me that research, I'm all about it. But here's the thing. You have arthritis, you have autoimmune issues. This is my big issue. You don't need to use this. Meaning, I'm not saying this in a negative way. And again, I can't give you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis. But autoimmune issues have a gut component, 90+% of them. Candida overgrowth or parasites or SIBO or H. pylori along with leaky gut. They oftentimes have a stress component to it. Like there's a lot that can be done, and you want to run the big 5 labs. I mean, I understand that your doctor was trying to help, but that's not an underlying root cause. Like your arthritis and autoimmune, it's not because you're not wearing this patch. And again, like, I'm not saying that the patch couldn't help. What I'm saying is that's not the underlying root cause. Let's find the underlying root cause. You find that by running the big 5. And anybody that has an autoimmune issue, I like them to run the bacteria and parasite stool test as well. But if you can't afford all of them, I understand. Like, we get you them basically at cost. They come with a consultation. They come with a full plan. We do our best to get this information to people. So that's my recommendation. StephenCabral.com/shop. Takes you over to Equilife, all the lab testing, all the protocols, everything is there. All the science is listed on all the pages. All the studies are listed on all the nutritional supplements. It's third-party tested. So we do our best to keep trying to promote that. But again, you don't even have to work with Equilife. You could work with an integrative health practitioner. But again, no offense to the doctor that you're working with, but you want to keep them as if they're an MD, keep them as your MD, but work with an IHP or an Equilife coach to look at the other underlying root cause issues. Okay, Kim? That's my recommendation. All right, Heather's up next. Hey, Doc, appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions, as always. Happy to help, Heather. I have 2 questions. Can you talk about diabetes insipidus? My 5-year-old cousin just got diagnosed with it, and the doctors are saying he has to be on medication the rest of his life for it. Do you know what the underlying root cause can cause this? Okay, so let's answer that first, and then I'll look at the second question. So diabetes insipidus is basically the inability to regulate fluid retention. Again, not giving any medical diagnosis here or any treatments or medical advice, but what I want to share with you is this. It usually has to do with a hormone. It's called antidiuretic hormone. And this is mainly affected in the kidneys. The kidneys are not either, well, for one, you want to look at why this may be happening. So sometimes the body is producing too much of a hormone called aldosterone, and there's then an imbalance in sodium potassium. That can be sometimes a cyst or a tumor growing on the pituitary gland or hypothalamus or on the adrenals. So that's important to look at that. We want to look at blood sugar levels, because if glucose levels are high, some people, they have a very large increased thirst, and that increased thirst is to help them dilute essentially the blood to lower their blood sugar levels. Not everybody. Again, I'm just throwing some things out there. And these are all things to be explored, because not everybody needs to be on medication for life. So we'd be a little careful with putting that nocebo effect in people's mind. Okay. All right. And again, I'm not going to, I'll just say this. I've had my experiences with diabetes insipidus, and there are people that have overcome it for sure, without a doubt. Okay. Number 2, when I do a harder workout, my face gets real red except the area above my lip, which the skin tone stays the same. I usually have a little bit of redness on my face daily, but again, the areas above my lip don't go red. So what could be the reason for this? Is it normal? Yeah, well, this is not abnormal. The flushing typically always occurs in the cheeks, less so in your forehead, but definitely to a greater degree than above the lip. That's not uncommon. It's actually this way with higher blood pressure as well. And sometimes blood pressure increases, obviously, with the workout. But then after that, the blood sugar not only regulates and normalizes, it typically drops a little below baseline to a healthy level, of course. So that's what I would look at. Some people trigger histamine response during their workouts, and the same with heat. Sometimes heat triggers a histamine-based response. All of these are not necessarily abnormal. However, of course, I would just make sure, if possible, again, you run the Big 5 just to make sure your vitamins and minerals are all in check, that your heavy metals are in check, guts in check, omega-6s to omega-3 inflammation are in check. I would look at all those. And then you may, again, I would use the daily foundational protocol, but on top of that, you may want to add the immunity protocol, which is zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D, and then add HistPro, which is our product that works amazingly well for healthy levels of histamine. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Let's see. Is there one more question? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, one more. Is treating an elevated out-of-range TPO antibody part of the thyroid outside the scope of the practice of an IHP? Okay, well, everything that you say you treat is outside the scope of anybody except a medical doctor. So just to let you know that. Can't use the word treat, can't use the word cure, can't use the word diagnose. And that is not something that we do anyway as integrative health practitioners. It's just not what you do. So, can you help someone with TPO antibodies elevated? Absolutely. Could you help someone with rheumatoid arthritis who has elevated RA factor or rheumatoid antibodies? Absolutely. What about lupus? Yes. Psoriasis? Yes. How about MS? Yes. These are all elevated antibodies. So the answer is yes. Do we work on those TPO antibodies? The answer is no. Because they're elevated because there's an underlying root cause. And that again goes back to at least one part of it for most people is the gut. Candida overgrowth, parasites, H. pylori, leaky gut as part of that, and SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, okay? So we look at gut-based health, we look at omega-6 to omega-3s, we look at food sensitivities, we look at heavy metals, we look at vitamins and minerals. Like all of these things are extremely important, and we teach all of that inside of IHP. So if you'd like to learn more about your health, become a certified health coach, even create a part-time or full-time career working virtually with people all over the world, can't recommend enough. That is at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. or just ihp.coach for short. So we enroll 100 new students per month. Half the people have absolutely no health experience at all before this. They want to become the health coach in their home. And then half the people have a background in health. So it's an amazing community. And as I've said, we do our live event once a year, and it is open to the general public, but 80% of the people there will be IHPs. And you can find out more about that at rhsevent.com. I literally think this is the last week for tickets. I think this is it. All right. That was it for today's show, but I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.